You may know a man over 50 who looks calm on the outside, but inside, he feels tired in a way sleep does not fix. He still works, still handles responsibilities, still says, "I'm fine," still tries to stay strong, but emotionally, something feels worn down. And this is where psychology becomes important, because many men over 50 are not exhausted simply because they are getting older. They are exhausted because they have spent decades being needed more than they were understood. For many men, the provider role becomes part of identity very early. They learn that being a good man means being useful, reliable, strong, financially stable, emotionally controlled, the one who solves problems, the one who carries pressure quietly. And for years, this role may give them purpose. But over time, the same role that once gave meaning can slowly become a psychological weight. Psychologists sometimes describe this through role strain. Role strain happens when the demands of a role become too heavy, too constant, or too emotionally restrictive. A man may be a father, husband, employee, son, protector, provider, fixer, decision maker, and emotional anchor. But beneath all those roles, he may rarely be asked, "How are you really doing?" And when someone is always expected to provide strength, they may forget how to receive support. This is one of the hidden emotional struggles of many men over 50. They have spent years being valued for what they can carry, but not always for what they feel. Psychologist Joseph Pleck wrote about gender role strain, which suggests that rigid expectations of masculinity can create emotional pressure. When men are taught they must always be strong, independent, successful, and emotionally controlled, they may begin hiding the very emotions that would help them heal. They may feel stress, but call it tiredness. They may feel sadness, but call it frustration. They may feel fear, but call it responsibility. They may feel loneliness, but call it needing space. Because many men were never taught the language of emotional exhaustion. They were taught the language of duty. And duty can be meaningful, but duty without emotional expression becomes heavy. Another reason men over 50 may feel emotionally drained is emotional suppression. For decades, many men learn to push feelings down so they can keep functioning. They do not break down because there are bills to pay. They do not talk about fear because people depend on them. They do not admit weakness because they believe others need them to be stable. But suppressed emotions do not disappear. They often show up differently, as irritability, silence, distance, loss of motivation, sleep problems, emotional numbness, or a constant feeling of being mentally tired. This is why some men become quieter as they age, not because they have nothing to say, but because they have spent years training themselves not to say too much. There is also the psychology of identity fusion. When a man's identity becomes fused with providing, he may not know who he is outside of responsibility. He may think, "If I am not needed, what am I? If I slow down, am I still valuable? If I can no longer provide the same way, will I still be respected?" This becomes especially painful after 50. Because life begins changing. Children may become independent. Work may feel more uncertain. The body may not recover as quickly. Parents may need care. Retirement may feel closer. Relationships may shift. And suddenly, the role that gave him structure for decades begins to feel unstable. That can create a quiet emotional crisis. Not always loud, not always obvious, but deep. Because many men are not only afraid of failing others, they are afraid of losing the version of themselves that others depended on. This connects directly to self-worth. If a man has spent most of his life believing his value comes from productivity, income, protection, and usefulness, then rest can feel uncomfortable. Receiving help can feel embarrassing. Needing support can feel like failure. And this is why some men over 50 struggle to relax even when they finally have the chance. Their body may be sitting down, but their nervous system is still on duty. Stress researchers use the term allostatic load to describe the long-term wear and tear caused by chronic stress. When someone spends years managing pressure, solving problems, staying calm, and holding emotions in, the nervous system can become exhausted from constant adaptation. The man may not have one dramatic breakdown. Instead, he may experience slow emotional depletion, less patience, less excitement, less tolerance for conflict, less emotional energy for conversations, less ability to pretend everything is okay. And people around him may say, "He has changed." But maybe he has not changed. Maybe he is finally too tired to keep performing strength the same way. Another hidden factor is emotional loneliness. Many men have relationships built around work, jokes, responsibilities, or shared activities, but not always emotional honesty. They may know many people, but have very few places where they can say, "I'm scared. I feel unappreciated. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm tired of being strong." Without emotional outlets, the inner world becomes crowded. The mind keeps carrying thoughts that were never spoken. This can make a man feel alone even inside a family, because being surrounded is not the same as being emotionally seen. Some men over 50 also carry quiet resentment. Not loud resentment, not hatred, but the silent kind that builds when someone gives for years and rarely feels emotionally replenished. They may love their family deeply. They may feel proud of what they provided, but somewhere inside, they may still wonder, did anyone notice what it cost me? That question can be painful, because the provider role is often praised from the outside. People see the house, the job, the stability, the sacrifices, but they may not see the anxiety behind it, the pressure, the sleepless nights, the swallowed emotions, the fear of not being enough. And over time, being appreciated only for providing can feel like being valued for function, not humanity. This does not mean men should stop caring, helping, or being responsible. Responsibility can be noble. Providing can be an act of love. But psychology reminds us that no human being can survive forever as only a role. A man is not only a provider, he is also a person with grief, fear, needs, tenderness, uncertainty, dreams, and exhaustion. Healing begins when he allows himself to ask a different question. Not only, what does everyone need from me? But, what do I need to feel alive again? That question may feel unfamiliar, maybe even selfish, but it is not selfish. It is emotional survival, because a man who never refills himself eventually has nothing left to give. One powerful shift is learning that being strong does not mean being silent. Strength can mean saying, I need rest. I need support. I need to talk. I cannot carry everything alone. I am more than what I provide. This is not weakness. This is emotional maturity. Another important shift is separating worth from usefulness. A man's value does not disappear when he earns less, when he retires, when he needs help, when he feels tired, when he is no longer the center of everyone's practical survival. His worth existed before his responsibilities, and it remains after them. For men over 50, emotional healing often means rediscovering parts of themselves that were buried under duty: friendship, creativity, rest, honest conversation, physical care, spiritual life, peace, not because the provider role was meaningless, but because it was never supposed to be the whole identity. And maybe the deepest truth is this: many men are not exhausted because they failed. They are exhausted because they carried too much for too long without being allowed to admit it was heavy. And when a man finally stops pretending he is never tired, he does not become less strong. He becomes more human. If this video connected with you, comment which part felt most true. And if you enjoy deep psychology content like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more videos about human behavior, emotions, relationships, self-worth, and the hidden patterns of the mind. See you in the next one.